lot more people can hear it now at once.
Anybody that'll listen, right?
Yeah. Did you hear we're an ESOP? No. Did you hear we're an ESOP?
That's right, by the way.
Did I tell you that we're an ESOP? That's right.
Welcome to SSR On Air. I'm Mike Rogers, your host for this monthly podcast brought to you by Smith Seckman Reed. Tune in as I interview leaders, colleagues, and clients about what is going on internally at SSR and in the larger engineering community. We're here today to talk to Kristen Haltom and Andy Brophy.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about ESOP. It's ESOP month. It's ownership month. And you guys are involved in that in some way. So I want to ask you some questions about that. But I first want to hear about yourself a little bit, some history. So Andy, why don't you go first?
Yeah.
How'd you end up here? What's your story?
The story's kind of funny. I wasn't even really looking to make a change. I was working in Milwaukee for a consultant. Yeah. And Jessica actually reached out to me on LinkedIn. Oh, and really? My wife hated Milwaukee. It was nice in the summer, but she's from Southern California, did not like winter. Yeah. And Jessica reached out, for an opportunity at SSR, moved down south to Nashville. So I was curious about it, so came down, went through the whole process, interviewed, flew on down on a day off. It was Martin Luther King Day, so I had the day off, so it was, holiday time.
So where'd you go to school?
Milwaukee School of Engineering.
Oh, okay.
It's a mouthful. MSOE, we call it.
Yeah.
It's now MSOE University, actually.
Okay.
But, yeah.
And degree in?
Architectural engineering.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
So architectural engineering is a good, I like to call it the bridge between the architect and the engineer.
That's exactly the terminology.
Yeah, I had architecture classes. Senior design was mechanical systems and designing the building, so it's kind of a unique, it set me up for energy modeling really well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I've been doing energy modeling ever since I left college, and was doing that at a company called Transwestern before I came here. Okay. And Jessica called me up, came down, got to know Eric, interviewed, just loved it, had a good vibe on it, and went through the whole process, made the leap, and haven't looked back. I've been here almost 8 years now.
Wow, it's been that long?
8 years, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Kristen, your turn.
All right.
What's your story?
My story's a little more straightforward, I think. So, out of college, I went to the University of Arkansas. I interned. I did a summer internship at the Memphis office.
Okay.
And so after I graduated, I had a few offers, but the most interesting was back at the Memphis office. So I accepted that offer, and I've been there ever since.
Okay.
And so when I got there, I've had a bit of a unique path here at SSR. I've done a little bit of everything, but now what I'm doing full-time is structural. So I do a lot of structural engineering and project management for our industrial clients.
Okay. And is your degree in structural?
It's in civil.
Just in civil, okay, yeah. Well, that's the great thing about civil. You can do a little bit of anything, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse. So.
Yeah, to find the path, right?
That's right, yes.
When you're in school especially, because you have no clue. But I mean, even if, for me, I'm mechanical, but I was the same way. I had no clue where I was going.
Yeah, mechanical's super broad, too.
Yeah.
You can go any direction you want, so.
Yeah, so you got to find your niche and find the people that you enjoy working with, like you said, and you kind of get a vibe or a feel for it. And Yeah. Yep. So you're still in the Memphis office?
Still in the Memphis office.
Yep. Okay.
Loving it.
Yeah. Good. All right. So what brings you in today?
Well, we're here to talk about ESOPs.
Yeah.
I think both of us have a special passion or excitement about ESOPs, but I think we're here a little bit to talk about an upcoming ESOP communications committee. It has not been formulated yet.
Okay.
We literally just started meeting on it to talk about what this is even going to look like and entail. But one of my favorite things about SSR is the ESOPs. Ever since 2016 when we went full ESOP, that got me really excited. Even back at that time, just for the prospect of ownership. I've always said, in America, really the best way to grow your personal wealth and your personal stature is through business ownership. But there's a lot of risks and challenges that come with that. But when you're in an established business like this that has the opportunity to provide a slice of ownership, there's a huge benefit to that personally.
Yeah.
And so anytime I talk to a new colleague or someone that's thinking about coming here or interviewing, it comes up. I just happen to bring, it comes up into the conversation, and I make sure they understand what they're getting into.
Yeah.
So I brag on it a little bit.
Yeah. No, that's good to be excited about it. I mean, it was quite the event for us to shift, from privately held shares, 50 or 60 shareholders, to an ESOP. Now, we always had an ESOP, but it was kind of a silent partner side of it, and so switching to what we did, I'm with you. I'm in that same camp. I think it's broad-based ownership, which for me it's a little bit about what you talked about, but it's also about your mindset. You're part of the ownership. What you do. I always say, whenever you're answering a question or answering a phone, act like an owner, and answer it in that way. And I think it's infectious. I think people see that, and they see how we have changed in the last few years a little bit with that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a tenet of the culture then at that point, because our success, everyone that's successful in their individual projects, their individual roles in the company builds to success for the rest of the company, which trickles back to your personal success, and it just, it's a snowball or a spiral from there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt. I mean, I think too, it's a little bit of a barrier to the world that we live in when it comes to private equity and the consolidation of the industry, those things that are going on. It's not a complete barrier, but it's a barrier in that you got to have a lot more agreement about what you're doing across it. Not only the trustee, but the employees, the trustees representing the employees.
Right.
And you guys know all this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right? But it does create that sense of, hey, we're in this together, and we're going to make decisions together about where we're going, which is nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that barrier, but from that standpoint, if it wasn't an ESOP, there's you wouldn't have any say in if two people owned a company and wanted to sell it, and you had a new boss or a new team, new culture, you'd have no say in that aspect. Maybe, but legally now we do.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's it'll always come back to that. There's many different facets of the ESOP as a whole that just come back to individual ownership and what that means to everyone collectively.
Yeah. So in the AEC industry, do we know how many firms or what percentage firms are ESOPs?
I don't. It's not many.
It's not many. I want to say it's 6 or 8%.
8%.
Is that right?
That's the right number.
It's
8%. So it's not many. But I have noticed in the last few years, some of our competitors have done the same thing we did. They've started to move towards ESOPs for the same reasons, all the same reasons that we talked about. So it's been interesting to watch.
Yeah. Well, there's so many reasons to do it, right? And it's not just the wealth management, but we were talking about this earlier today. I mean, it leads to so many opportunities for the individuals. So when we are an ESOP, we're all owners. And that company, for our sustainability and for our success, we have to train the next generation of leaders.
Right.
It's the company's responsibility. So what it does, in my opinion, is it leads to so many opportunities for each and every employee owner. And I think that's something that's really special. You don't get that at every firm, but you can get that here. You can really shape your way and decide what you want to do because you're an owner.
Yeah.
We all own this place. So it's pretty special.
That is nice.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. So that's how you guys, the energy behind that, and that's how you kind of got involved in this idea, this thought about creating a ownership ESOP committee. Tell me a little bit about what you think the definition of that is, and maybe what the charter for it is.
I think in general, I think it's a huge strength of SSR, especially when it comes to recruiting, retention, just benefits overall, and so really it's communication. So it's communications committee, but it's the whole intent is to get everyone in the company to fully understand what all the benefits are. There's no fogginess about, what is this? Is it? And I know there's onboarding and training, but watching one video doesn't really do it justice. So what we're going to be trying to do is have continuous connections with colleagues to make sure that it's front of mind, front and center, what the benefits are, and just keep reminding us that it's not just something that's coming from above. Act like an owner. You really are an owner. Mm-hmm. And part of that is, I think our goal is to just keep that communication consistent and constant. Would you?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. We're looking to plan events. We're looking to pull people in. Engaged employees are successful, and when we're successful as individuals, our company does great things. And so, like he said, we're looking to really remind people why it's important, how every decision that we make every single day impacts our bottom line, really. I mean, we have a huge responsibility as employee owners. And so rather than looking at it as an accountability thing, I think it's actually more exciting because we can shape our future. And so
opportunity.
We're looking to communicate what it is, why it's valuable, and bring some more excitement back to it.
You celebrate it a little bit,
right? Yeah. Really, it's a way to help our employees engage more and help us reach our strategic goals. Is the way I see it.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I think it's interesting when we first did it, nobody really understood what it meant. Yeah. And even the ESOP statements, some people look at them, even though you send out something that says this is how you read it, and we did it again this year. This is how you read it. It's still kind of I don't know what this means. Well, what does it mean going forward? What does it mean looking back? And then you had some people that never even looked at them. I mean, never even looked at it. And I'm thinking, how can you not look at your ESOP statement when
you're missing out? I mean, it's pretty incredible when you open that up and you just kind of you see this is my stake. Mm-hmm. It's like you have a slice of ownership. That slice of ownership basically, this gives you a claim at the future cash flows of a business. Mm-hmm. And so as long as that business is having success, those cash flow, when we make profit, we know how that, Steve talks to us, he gives us company addresses. It's very transparent what the financials look like, where it's going, and how that trickles down into, the ultimate value of the business, and we all have a share in that value.
Yeah, one of the underlying things behind making the transition was literally that ownership transition. How do you perpetuate the company going forward? The old style is, a few guys start it, like you mentioned, and then they got to sell it, and then those guys eventually have to sell it, and you can sell it internally, you can sell it externally, and this is a way to spread that out and spread that burden out, so that we are buying and selling the company constantly. But that's the trick, right? We're buying and selling it constantly, so we're never having to write those big checks. Or back in the day, I mean, I'm sure that the founders mortgaged their homes and did all kinds of things in order to keep payroll going and stuff like that. That was part of the gig. And back, the next generation, it was, in order to buy stock, you essentially had to write checks. Here's what you're doing. You get your bonus and you hand it right back. Here's my bonus money to help pay for stock. And so that went on for a while. And I think we got to the point where, I don't know that people aren't willing to do that today. I think there was a little less energy behind it, but there certainly was a lot of energy behind being an owner and, like you said, participating in that going down the road. And it creates that continuation of the company, that you don't have to sit back every 5 or 10 years and go, what are we going to do? How are we going to sell this thing? I mean, it's a nice place to be, and there's still, and I'm sure Tim Pretty will talk a lot about the finances behind that and how you smooth that out over the years. But it seems to be working well for us, and I can feel the energy around the office with it.
And when you work hard, you're working hard for yourself. Mm-hmm. There's not some third party entity that takes all the profit and you're working for them. I mean, it goes back into our company that we own.
Yeah. And that's
really
just
neat.
Interesting, because I've been there. I was at a company that was bought, like you said, had no say, and all of a sudden, next day, wake up and there's a new boss in town, right? Yeah. Nobody knew him, and here we are. And of course, a lot of people just fled and left and moved
kind of
around.
that fear of the unknown. So
Sure.
you don't know what you're getting now. You've been comfortable.
Yep.
Company sold. You have new management, new owners. Yeah, it just what how is my life going to change now from that standpoint?
And you mentioned the openness too of like the newsletters and things that Steve sends out. Here's how we're doing. I mean, every month we see what the financials are. We kind of know where we are. That's not true in a lot of companies.
Yeah.
And that was the second time I was at a company and that was going on. It was like the star chamber, right? I mean, you go in, you never, and then what comes out, you don't know where the profit's going, you don't know how much you really made, and at the end of the day, it's like, okay, what happened, And I think for us, we're already highly educated people, and we're motivated to do things in a certain way to help people and help people around us and those kinds of things, and to have a little bit of that understanding where the money's going. I think it's easy for us to understand it, so let's talk openly about it, and share that. ESOP's a perfect vehicle for it. Can't hide it.
Yeah.
Can't hide anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Too many benefits.
yeah.
Too many reasons.
Yeah. So you mentioned events. So you're thinking about having events and things. What are you thinking there? What get-togethers?
We've got one idea. I mean, we've been doing a brainstorm, but I mean, one of the things is the annual reveal. The price reveal.
Yeah.
Steve talks about it, but we're looking at having more of a celebration of big anticipation, the big reveal.
Company-wide.
Wow, like
parties.
last year.
Yeah, just
crazy. Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit muted.
Yeah.
I almost get discouraged because I'll go to colleagues and I'll say, "Hey, the share," and half the people don't know,
Right.
and they have no idea that we just had a what was it, 35% or something,
30-something% increase.
Yeah, just in the value of the business, and that directly trickles down to the value of your slice of ownership.
Absolutely.
And it's exciting, and there wasn't much excitement.
Yeah.
From a lot of folks, and a lot of it I think is just the unknown, not really understanding not knowing, and so we want to try to get it to the forefront and celebrate it.
Right. Every day.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit. It's a generational thing too, right? I mean, and I think that the younger you are, the less you're thinking about 30 or 40 years down the road. Where when you're in your 40s and 50s, you're definitely thinking about it because it's 10, 20 years down the road. So you start to really value that, and what you do today to build those blocks. Yeah, and you guys know. I mean, what you do today to build those blocks is, and you just forget about them, and then you think about it in 30 years, and it's significant. So it can be. And,
I mean, it's the personal wealth side, but then it's also movement in the business, the ability to have more responsibility. You can pave your way. We've seen different avenues and areas of growth within the company. That just there's opportunity there where if you have an idea, and you can make a business case for it, and it's going to benefit the company. There's an avenue there. It's not go do your job.
Right.
That's not the culture, and so that's.
I think that's
exactly
good.
right.
It's a good culture. Okay, so when's the first event? When's the first meeting you guys are having?
Great question.
Yeah, it's a good question. We're meeting regularly to try to shape what this is going to look like. I think our initial thoughts are launching the actual committee at the start of our next fiscal year.
Yeah.
So 2023 February would be the target for that. That's what we've talked about just between the two of us, and we've still got to work with Susan and Tim on that as well, just for how that's going to look and what the charter is going to look like.
Yeah.
But so it's in the very early stages at this point. So this is like the initial insight into what's coming.
Exciting.
But we're excited.
Yeah.
We're planning on having regular events company-wide that people can participate in. And just the constant messaging and the constant reminder that, hey, we're an ESOP.
Yeah.
And, hey, you're an owner.
Yeah.
And here's what that means. So
I like it.
more than the once a year. So.
Yeah. I like it. That sounds good. What else you want to tell everybody that you got going on?
What I can say, you did bring up at one point that there's an aspect that Tim covers on the tax side of things, the that's not what we're not trying to make sure everyone understands the ins and outs of the ESOP and the legalities of it and that's not what we're doing. This is more just the on the employee side, the individual side, what it means for every single one of us and how it's a benefit.
Yeah, the opportunity, the celebration, the just acknowledgement of it.
The logistics of it, we leave that to Tim. For sure.
We're very grateful for Tim.
Yeah. There's a lot of intricacies that go along with it. There's a lot of rules.
There is.
That's not what we're trying to do. We don't expect every single 450 of us to understand the ins and outs of an ESOP, but just in general what the benefits are is for the organization.
And we've done a podcast with Tim talking about the ESOP too, and I encourage everybody to listen or watch that and give you a little insight into it. The trustee essentially is our representative, and they're independent, and they speak into the things the company does from an employee view, saying this is what I think you should be doing and shouldn't be doing, and so that's a big piece of it. So
that's a fiduciary responsibility for the organization and all the employees, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that people can't ask us questions about that. By any means, we're going to have a lot of events where we're meeting with people and just finding out what they think about it and trying to learn for us how we could better communicate it. And so, it's not to say that we're a closed book and they can't ask the question. We'll be a liaison from that standpoint, but our primary goal is awareness.
Well, I think it's great that you guys are doing it because it creates some energy in the younger employees too around it, and it's not the upper management talking about this stuff, where it just goes into the wah 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 thing of Charlie Brown, but it's more peer to peer, and you guys can share, you've got some experience that you can share with the really new younger folks and experience with the people that are at your point in the company, and I think it'll resonate more.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just
that's the hope.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
We've got some exciting ideas and we're excited to get started.
Well, I like it too because, like I said, it's not directed by anybody else. It's you guys saying what's important to us as owners and ESOP members and what gets us excited, and that's what's fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely. I mean, I already do. I mean, I'm already. You could probably ask anyone that sits around me.
I love ESOPs.
I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
I maybe focus a little more on the financial side, but that's just, I don't know. That's how my brain's wired, and
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we'll talk about. I mean, there's a financial aspect to it, right? But there's also an individual, personal aspect, and so we're looking to hit both of those with everybody company wide because. Not everybody's brain works the same way, right?
Yeah,
motivation's different,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. We're going to be a good team because Kristen's more on the individual side for her passion, I think, right? And my passion's definitely on the personal wealth side of things. I get to the point where someone leaves, I'm like, what are you doing?
What are you leaving on the table?
Yeah.
No, I get it. Well, you'd be surprised at how many competitors and other people in the industry ask me about our ESOP. I get it all the time. I'll go somewhere and run into a CEO or CFO or somebody, and they'll say, hey, what's your ownership look like? And I immediately do the same thing you do. I said, we're an ESOP and we love it, and the question they always ask is what's the difference? How does it feel? And it's just like you've said, it's ownership. It's real ownership. And it's just a different mindset.
Yeah.
So it's not the haves and have-nots, which is what I term a lot of these companies are. You get, 10-15% of the company that owns it all, and the rest don't. The rest of them are hourly employees or something like that. Right. I don't like that feel, right? I don't think anybody likes that feel. No. So
well, and you get some engineering firms too that have the whole. You have to be invited to have the privilege of paying a large lump sum of money to have that principal status in the company.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where this is, you're sort of getting that over time, just as the company, basically redistributes how where all the shares are going as people come and go.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah, and it's an even, equitable distribution that goes out. So it's nice.
And our clients feel it,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll tell you that. I mean, there's a difference when you're an employee owner and you interact with your clients day to day.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right.
When I was a summer intern, we were doing a lot of things. They were pushing out the 2020 vision,
Mm-hmm.
and they were turning into an ESOP. So when I was recruited full time here at SSR, that was one of the big selling points.
That was right after we converted
That's right.
to ESOP. Okay.
It was, so I've been here full time as long as we've been in ESOP.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, yes.
Yeah.
And when I was looking for jobs, obviously I was looking at other companies as well.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those were ESOPs. And to me, as a young person who was coming out of school, it was a very attractive benefit.
Yeah.
To be, when you tell somebody fresh out of school that they can be an owner. I mean,
Right.
you can be an owner of a company. That's huge.
Today.
That's right.
Today,
That's right. So I think it's a really unique situation.
Yeah.
And I think it's very attractive for new talent.
I would agree. So, Kristen, you came in right as we were converting. And Andy, you were already here during the conversion.
Yeah, I started in 2015, early 2015.
Okay.
I think we were fully converted February 2016. If I got the timeline.
So you have a little bridge across it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a bridge. The process was happening. There was some communication about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for sure once we kind of hit that point, there was definitely a subset of people that were just kind of confused about the whole process.
Absolutely.
I know we had the commemorative coins that came out. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And some people didn't know what to do with those. But I feel like once the messaging started to get out a little bit about what that meant as a company throughout that transition year,
Mm-hmm.
it started to sink in a little bit, where it didn't really feel like you're just kind of sitting in a cube, collecting a paycheck with a bunch of other colleagues doing the same thing. There was a little bit of a shift where if someone started to, if someone left the company, there was more of a personal hit, I almost feel like, or take it more personally when someone would leave because you're an owner of a company and this is impacting the company versus when we were all individuals. That's at least my take on it. Is it definitely feels more personal when people leave the organization.
Right. Right.
And I think I've felt that with others as well.
So during that time, and I agree. I think during that time frame from 15, 16 into 17, really into 18, before people really started getting that mindset of ownership. Is that kind of what you felt? I mean, it was a slow roll into it.
Sure.
The communication was coming out, but I don't think we were. Maybe we weren't as good at communicating, or we weren't getting it down deep enough, or whatever it was. But it took a little time. Right?
There's time. You have to start seeing the statements come in.
Right. Yeah, I think that had a big
you don't
impact.
get one until like the summer app, so it's almost a year and a half till you get your first
May
one,
before it
and then you
comes
start.
out.
Now it's like I look forward to those days when that's coming out, just to see what the results are.
I'd be curious to see how many people on the day the thing comes out, how many people hit the button and said, "I want to look at my statement now," versus.
Do we have those stats?
versus 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Because I think the day the email comes out, I think I'm loading it up and diving in to see where we're at.
Well, and I had a funny question after that too. It was like, well, I keep checking it every month and it's not changing. And I thought, well, it only changes once a year.
Yeah,
we change the share price once a year.
I think there is always that, because a lot of times I think when people think, so it's ESOP, employee stock ownership, and so there's this thought, stock, stock market.
Stock's going to change.
It's still a private, it's not a public exchange. It's not like people can buy and sell shares of SSR where the price is changing on a minute by minute basis.
Right.
It's the valuation on a yearly basis based on how we performed as an organization. Did we all when we're trying to get projections in, is everyone hitting their projections? Are those accurate? That all of that stuff goes into it. It's just
all of it weighs in,
and it's all transparent. And so when you know that and you're an owner, it helps you say this really matters for what I'm doing, because it goes into that. It's the value of the business.
I think that's an important thing to know too. And a lot of people may know this, but some people probably don't, is that the price is completely set independently. I mean, it's like you're saying, they're looking at how we perform, did we do what we say we were going to do? Did we meet the metrics? I mean, they're looking at all these things, and they put it in their black box and shake it up and come out with a number, and we have no control over that at all. It's a real valuation. They look at what companies are selling for out in the marketplace, and I have all these things that they do. So I think it's a good point to note that we don't fix that price. That price is fixed by what what the outside evaluator sees us as.
And it's truly that the value of the organization, not so much what investors think the value is by buying and selling, what that activity looks like. It's totally different from that.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like what's the value of your home? It's what someone will pay for it. But for us, it's a little different because we're not willing to sell.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter what you're willing to pay. It may go into the calculations, but we're really not wanting to sell. I mean, that's not our intent, is to sell.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. All the reasons why we went to an ESOP, right?
Yeah.
So.
But I guess, that huge tangent. But I think, after a few years, I think there's definitely now it's more apparent than ever. I think that there's at least a majority of people understand it and kind of feel that ownership.
Yeah.
Definitely a shift over time, but from when I started to now, just from that personal side of things, it definitely feels like people are more invested in it than it just being a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think one of our main targets of our committee will be to hit all of our new employees, because we did a really good job of messaging back in 2016.
Yeah.
A really good job for about a year, and pushed out that message, and everybody from that time period understands ESOPs pretty well, I think, right? But that's one thing that we want to hit hard with all our new employees, because one thing that I hear from our younger employees or newer employees is, how is this valuable? How is this, I'm not contributing, but yes, you are. What you're doing, even though you're stapling papers for a client, is just as important as what everybody else is doing, because it serves our clients and it keeps them happy, which keeps our business going. And so more of just the overall how everybody's contributing every single day.
Yeah, and there's real power in that for me. I mean, when I think about it, we have 470 or so people that actually work here. Well, how many families, how many people are we supporting in that, we're all together, pulling in the same direction. We've probably, I don't know, there's probably 3 times that number, you figure, if you got kids and things mixed in. So we're supporting a lot of people, and we're holding hands doing it, which is a good feeling, I think. So.
Yeah, it's the same. If small business owner, there's always that talk of your employees are you're it for them. You're providing their paychecks. You're supporting them. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all owners of the company, and our performance is benefiting each and every ourselves, but all of our colleagues and everyone sitting around us, sitting in different offices. So that's a really cool way to paint the picture.
Yeah, it's good.
Agreed. It's exciting.
It is exciting. Yeah. It's good stuff. Yeah, so, and like I talked about a little bit, I mean, externally I get asked about the ESOP a lot, and it's not just high-level people, it's anybody I run into, and, when they're talking governance and how do we manage the company and that kind of thing, so it comes up. So I guess that's the question. When you get exposed to contemporaries or people that are already at other companies, does the conversation come up? Do you guys have conversations about ownership and ESOP and that type of thing?
Funny enough, there's been plenty of lunches I've had with architects or folks that we're actually having a lunch trying to talk about doing business with them, and it has come up multiple times in my experience as well. And it just seems to be a general curiosity from folks about that idea of ownership. And once again, I always brag on it, and it's collective ownership. We all have a stake in what happens, and so to me, there's a lot more collaboration that happens. There's a lot less of this feeling of trying to compete against your fellow colleagues to get ahead, so to speak, like you may have somewhere else. It's definitely a feeling of collective improvement, and as a client of ours, that's going to be a huge positive when you have an organization that has 470 some people that you can draw on expertise, because everyone wants to see the company succeed. And so it's it's not Memphis competing against Nashville's office to see who can, get the sale, or it's just a collective organization. And so that's what I try to hammer home to clients when I talk about it, is the benefit of just the mindset that we all have, and the support that they're getting from us from a customer service standpoint.
Yeah. So I do want to thank you guys for coming in and talking about it. It's a great topic, and like I said, it's exciting, it's fun. I think it's significant to our business, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us here.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Yeah. Many thanks to being able to brag to the whole company and everyone else. A lot more people can hear it now at once.
Anybody that'll listen, right?
Yeah. Did you hear we're an ESOP? No. Did you hear we're an ESOP?
That's right, by the way.
Did I tell you that we're an ESOP?
That's right.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's my approach for all new colleagues. No, thanks.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of SSR On Air. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. You can also connect with us on social media. Links to everything can be found in the show's notes. Take care, everyone. See you next time.